Hi everyone. So I'm Itamar, the founder of Argent. I was told I could make a live demo, so I will not do much about the slides, and I will quickly jump to a live demo on the phone. But give me first maybe a few minutes to recap what we are doing at Argent. So we are building a new type of wallet where we put security and business logic at the protocol layer. The reason we do that is because to have mass adoption in crypto, we think we need to simplify things. I guess most of the people in the room will agree on that. So it's too easy to lose assets, quite scary to make a transaction. Like me, you might be reviewing for 10 minutes the exact address you send your money to. I mean, sometimes it takes me half an hour to make a transaction, and it's really scary. And usually wallets can't really interact with dApps. There are some solutions out there, but not yet enough. So we basically started by making our shopping list. We thought we need to build a non-custodial wallet, but that is the UX of Revolut or Monzo. So literally, we listed on the security side, you should be able to freeze your account the same way you lose your wallet. You call your bank, you say, freeze my card, send me a new one. Recovery, if you lose your phone, should be easy. Again, like your bank, you just ask for a new card. You should be able to block fraudulent transaction. If someone enter into my bank account, try to drain the account, it's very likely my bank will call me. You should be able to set maybe a daily limit. It should have the usual biometric, but it should be simple. So maybe I can set some trusted contact to who I can send a lot of money because, and my bank will know that it's safe. I shouldn't have to deal with gas. It's too complex. And ideally, I shouldn't see this long public cryptic address anymore. So is that possible? And the answer is yes, using smart contracts. So by putting security at the layer of the smart contract, you can create an experience that really has all the advantage of the Revolut of Monzo of the world, but stay fully decentralized and non-custodial. So I think the best is really to show it straight on the phone live. And let's hope I don't get a ton of notification. So I'll launch Argent. So look, it feels like a normal wallet. Yeah, can we see more or less contrast? Yeah, that's fine. So I have my assets. It feels like a nice looking wallet, but actually the private key in my phone has no ETH. There is no assets, nothing on that private key. It's just a remote control to my account. So I can do the usual. For example, I will send maybe a few DAI to someone. So here I will pick my co-founder Julian. I'll send him $2. That's how easy. Done. There's no transaction fee. There's no notion of gas. It's as easy as making payment to a friend in Revolut, for example. But then where it gets more interesting, I can suddenly interact with some protocols. So that's Kyber. I want to buy bats. I'll do it. So I'll buy 2 bats today. Done. Again, it takes 2 seconds. I go quick because that's the idea, is to show you that's how easy to do. And now these transactions are being mined. We use meta transaction, meaning as a user, you don't have to worry about gas, anything like that. So it gets more interesting if we talk about security, is we have created the concept of guardians. So some people call that social recovery. So we wanted to emulate the experience of your bank. You call them, hey, I lost my wallet, and you get your new card. So with Guardians, with Guardian you do the same. So you define people you will trust. Instead of blindly trusting your bank, you can decide, so for example, it can be friends and family. They have the app. They don't have access to your key. They don't have access to your funds, but you give them the right to trigger a recovery procedure. But if you don't trust friends and family, you can use hardware wallet. You can have 3 hardware wallets. They don't need funds on it. Again, they just act as guardian in case of problem. Or you can use what we call Argent Guard, which is a custodian, not of your key, not of your fund, again, of another key that is just used in case of problem. And that experience is really seamless. So if I want to add a guardian, let's say I want to add Miguel as a guardian. I add Miguel as a guardian. Done. Again, it takes a few seconds and it's over. We play a lot on timing for security reasons. So adding a guardian will only be set in stone after 24 hours to avoid someone, adding 10 guardians at a party. Where it gets more interesting, let's do another type of experiment. Does someone has an Ethereum wallet on their phone right now? Can someone pull a QR code on Ethereum? Okay, someone there. I'll send you money, so you should, yeah. So any QR code, any app, and let's prepare a transfer. So I have here 77 ETH, $18,000 more or less, that I will send to Arthur, if he's the first. So let's click send. Pull out the camera. You will have to come to me. So Arthur is about to get his... it must be Coinbase, that's why it's slow, right? Yeah, I can see from the color. So let's send, here we are, QR code, recognize. Here we are. So I will send 77.5 ETH to Arthur. It's happening. I'm clicking continue. That's the final screen. That's the confirmation screen. So I'm going for it. I'm clicking send. So wait. So what's happening now? The smart contract, so again, it's not in the app, it's not in our backend. The smart contract sees a large transfer above a daily limit I've set to an address I don't trust because I didn't know Arthur, it wasn't staged. So it will basically, even if I go ahead, so I'll go ahead, it will take 24 hours. So this transaction will be mine. I don't need to save you as a contact. But in fact, the smart contract will not trigger the payment for another further 24 hours. So I was maybe drunk at a bar, you got my phone, or you stole my private key in some way. Still, you cannot take the money. So now I will, I'll just go back after the talk and cancel it at any time. If I wanted to make that payment, I would use my guardian. I would set you as a trusted contact. So it is possible to have the same ease of use as your bank in a fully non-custodial way. To be more secure, I believe, than a hardware wallet, because even with your private key, people cannot steal your funds. This is, I think, the end of the demo. You can, of course, have contacts. It looks very slick, very easy to use. You can maybe trusting a contact, so you see it's not very complicated. So Miguel we had, I will trust him. One tap, again, it's done. So that's really Argent. And again, the key is using smart contract. Let's maybe just, okay, your payment is not going through, so it's fine. We can switch back to the slides. So we spent 18 months, almost 2 years, just making the basics right. So being able to store funds in an extremely secure way, being able to recover it. So in January, we had our smart contract on mainnet, had an iPhone app, and just waited. It took 2-3 months for people to start losing their phone. You would be it didn't take that long. Or a phone being smashed by a car, and a few $100,000 of recovery have now been made. Again, no seed phrase. So you do not never back up your private key on paper. That's probably the biggest security hole in the whole ecosystem, because if I see that piece of paper, it's over, you'll never get your money back. With Argent, no seed phrase, and even if you have my private key, you cannot steal my funds. But the goal, and the goal is to enable Web3. I don't think on this stage I have to explain why it's important, but we see Ethereum and other programmatic blockchains, the foundation of a new internet of value or a new layer of the web, and that's what we want to enable. So you saw Kyber Network in the apps. That's a protocol for decentralized exchange. So that's the first protocol we've integrated. By mid-July, you will be able to open a maker CDP, so a collateralized loan, in one transaction. No one can do that. Again, we can do it because we have programmable money. We talk for years about programmable money. Crypto is not programmable money. A private key with funds cannot be programmed. There's nothing that can be done. With a smart contract, you can put logic. So a CDP will take one transaction because the smart contract will orchestrate everything. You will start making interest on all your assets. So you can just, we use Compound at start, but there are staking providers we are working with. So any asset should allow you to earn money. And so that's the start of us interacting with the ecosystem. And later in this year, you will see experiences that are outside Argent, where Argent becomes the identity, and then you just interact with dApps with Argent instead of using MetaMask or equivalent. So that's Argent. You can download it. So just go on argent.xyz. You will see that we have a wait list. We pay for gas for everyone, so we don't add millions of users straight away, but we'll make sure everyone gets access as soon as possible. And Android is being pushed to the App Store now, so it might be live on your phone. If you look for it on Android, it's literally been pushed a few hours ago. Thank you.
better? Yeah.
Yeah, so after the 3 talks, we'll have the Meet the Speaker session in a separate room. So if you guys wanted to ask some questions, you can definitely do that after the 3 of them had their talks. So I'd love to introduce Jeremy to talk about Casa.
Thank you. Check, mic check. Can everybody hear me? All right. Let's see if we can get these slides up, and then we'll get started. So I'm Jeremy Welch. While they bring this up, I'm Jeremy Welch. I'm the founder of Casa. I brought a Casa node here. Does anybody have a Casa node? Does anybody run Lightning and Bitcoin? All right, we've got a few hands. Cool. All right, we are up. So we're going to talk about Casa and Bitcoin in context of the 4th wave of computing. The kind of core of our approach has been that it's not just a financial revolution. What we're seeing is not just a financial revolution. What we're seeing is actually a computing revolution. And where this is going is we're shifting from this kind of centralized setup to where we have a fragile hierarchy, these massive data centers, into something that is much more resilient. And I'm going to throw a timer up so I can just keep track. We've got right at 10 minutes to cover and a lot to cover. So first I'm going to start with what the 4th wave of computing is not. It's not a world computer. It's not smart contracts. It's not token ICOs, staking, centralized stablecoins. I'm bringing all of these up because there's actually a bigger wave here. We're just on the edge of it. All of these things are interesting, but what's happening is kind of going beyond just this level that we're seeing in some of the smart contract platforms, and even some of the kind of early stuff we've seen in Bitcoin with basic multisig. The 4th wave of computing is encrypted data everywhere. It's local computing, peer-to-peer apps, and peer-to-peer cloud apps, hybrids, programmable low-fee payment rails, uncensorable P2P identity and content. You can build those with smart contracts. You can build those with Ethereum. You can build them with other platforms. But there is this kind of bigger wave that we see, and the Casa node, which runs Lightning and Bitcoin right now, is a part of that. We also have this key management solution I'll touch on in a minute. This wave will break many business models of the centralized internet. So the majority of the ad tech space, I think, will be broken. I just sent out a tweet storm last week. We got a bunch of retweets on that, and also a lot of criticism because we were calling out kind of why it's going to break some of the ad tech space. Google, Facebook, some of the biggest companies that are based on ad tech and on advertising revenue, we think are pretty weak in this. But there are other companies, other industries that will be weak as well. So who am I? I'm the founder and CEO of Casa, 10 years building startups, studied political philosophy, and we put on a Bitcoin conference a long time ago, considering now. But I started Casa for friends and family. So it was really about helping friends and family get secure. I'm technical, so I was able to set up multi-sig contracts myself and use paper wallets. But for a lot of friends and family, again, usability is a huge issue when it comes to security in the space, securing your wealth. And then we see this as being a bigger wave. So it started as security, but it's gone far beyond that. So what is Casa? Casa is the best personal key system on the planet. What that actually means is that we are managing the keys, helping you manage the keys that then tie to your funds, tie to your data. So we're using that personal key system to build the best personal computing on the planet. And what that looks like in practice is, one, an app that is on your phone. It's called Keymaster. It's multi-sig. It allows you to manage these keys directly. And then a Casa node. A Casa node runs in your home. It runs in your office. It runs Bitcoin. It runs Lightning. It is already built to run a lot more things, but we've just started with Bitcoin and Lightning today. And it's the combination of both of those. Well, unfortunately, you can't run Ethereum on this. So it would take too big of a node to run. So that's part of the problem in terms of building out a real decentralized infrastructure. But it's not just me. There's a big team behind this. How many of you use Trezors? Awesome. So Elena, who created the Trezor, former CEO of Satoshi Labs, is our head of strategy. We've got Scott Herf on design, who's done a phenomenal job, and we'll look at some of the design. But again, he was totally outside of this this world. He was in the kind of consumer computing space before this, but we're bringing a lot of brains into trying to make this overall computing, this next wave of computing actually usable. So our core mission is to maximize personal sovereignty and safety. And this question of how that actually relates to Bitcoin and how that relates to broader computing. And so I want to talk through a little bit of why we think this revolution is happening and what's come before that, and then we're going to come back to how Casa actually relates. So we see this as 4 waves of computing. Again, this isn't just about this kind of a smart contract, world computer. There's like a bigger wave here, and it is about actually distributed devices and distributed computing. And so the first wave here is mainframe computing, local apps. IBM is the dominant player in this world. And this all started, again, we had these massive computers that filled rooms the size of this. There's one right there, a 360 mainframe. That then gave way to personal computing and local apps. So this is the wave of course, Windows and Mac, and built major companies. Some of the largest companies today still came from this wave. And so we see an Apple ad here, and we also see some new types of applications that emerge in this process too. This is a LAN party, right? I don't know if they're playing Quake or what they're playing, but they're in a room together playing a game, all networked together, and that gives way to, at a much larger scale, mainframe computing network apps, which is the third wave that we've really just been through, and this is what built Facebook and Google. But the thing that most people miss is that really this is just another form of mainframe computing. We're seeing these massive data centers, and the phones that we all use and the computers we all use are really thin clients. So this is what it looks like in practice for most of us. But in reality, most of the computation is happening in these massive data centers, right? So what's different now? What's different now is that we're actually seeing these applications run from phone to phone, from computer to computer, on smart contracts, from Casa node to Casa node. You're getting many more peer-to-peer applications that are emerging, and we're starting to see the edges of something new. So a new, and again, pieces of this have been around. We've had BitTorrent, we've had other file sharing protocols for a while, but at large scale and thinking about much larger applications and computing, most of the resources again have been sucked up by the big players, and so we are just starting to see this kind of new wave. And the tools in this world look very different. You have miners, you have hardware wallets, you have our Casa node device or other node devices that are actually running and doing some validation. And the world itself looks very different. The applications look very different. Just like in the last wave where we saw some of these new applications around gaming, we're starting to see new applications in this world. This is a meme from, I think, Crypto Scam Hub that's talking about the lightning torch that was passed around from Jack to Elizabeth, who runs Lightning Labs. And you see this little cat back there in the corner, the Hodlonaut cat. It's interesting that kind of some of the dominant events have all been from people that nobody knows who they are. It's all pseudonymous. And the last wave, if you remember Facebook's big push for open data everywhere, kind of real identity all over the web, zero privacy, now we're starting to see a backlash around that. But that was the last wave. The last wave was about having everything very open. Now we're starting to see a wave where things are more closed. And the biggest events in this world, Satoshi Nakamoto himself, and many of the games that we see are all dealing with pseudonymous accounts. And that's not an accident, right? We're going to see a lot more of that. So I talk about Bitcoin because Bitcoin does have, in terms of the most resilience and the most nodes out there, but this is something a lot of people don't really see. They think about miners, they think about infrastructure, they think about the big data centers, but they don't really think about all of the validating nodes that are out there. And this, again, is just very different from any world that we've had before. You would see a similar kind of peer-to-peer network globe if you're talking about some of the file sharing systems. It wouldn't be quite this large, but you would see something similar to this. So again, 4 waves of computing. I'm not going to touch on these because we already went through these, but just to put these back up here. And what's the story connecting all of these? So I want to talk about the story, and then we'll get back to Casa. The first wave was just about spreading the benefits of the business side to consumers, right? Bringing some of this computing power to consumer applications. The second wave to the third wave is about connecting all those consumers and connecting all those businesses. So we had all these devices out there. Now we start connecting them, but the important point is they're actually connected through central intermediaries. And payment stack is really the reason around this. The cost of doing business, the cost of trying to take payment from someone directly resulted in everything going through these central intermediaries. Because of smart contracts, because of Bitcoin, because of the payments rails that are now being built, we can avoid this. And we also, now it's going to open up a lot more peer-to-peer applications. So digital advertising actually exists because of these transactions. That's one of our theses. And one of the problems out of this is that a lot of these intermediaries have now become too powerful. They have too much data. And now there's all this antitrust work that's now happening because of because of GDPR and because of other data protection schemes. We're actually starting to see some of these problems hopefully to start to go away. But we are starting to see the edge of this transition. And again, this is kind of going from mainframe network apps to more peer-to-peer apps. And in this transition, in this shift, protecting all network parties with encryption and open protocols, and it's encryption and local validation that really protect the individuals from the central intermediaries. We will still have miners, we'll still have large players, but they will serve a very different role whenever we're able to validate that data and encrypt a lot of the data that's going to end up being in these clouds. So again, just kind of giving a visual of this massive network and the kind of small miners over there pushing stuff in, but ultimately it is going to be the nodes that validate things. So how all this connects together is to maximize personal sovereignty and safety. Our end goal is to simplify encryption management and simplify validation. Those are the two keys that you have to kind of participate in this broader world, this fourth wave of computing. And so that results in the two products that we have, Keymaster in every pocket, that is managing encryption, and then a Casa node in every home. And I've got a couple screens of kind of what this looks like. So this is a 3 of 5 multi-sig setup. You have several different devices. We do provide a service around this. And we secure people all over the world, over 60 different countries. And it's Bitcoin only because of, again, the multi-sig scripting. And we're trying to push the edge of experience in terms of what can be built for multi-sig, for service providers around this. You can see, like, you click on the home key there, that brings up details of the home key. You can, and then you see I actually marked it as compromised, and we have flows around collecting all of those. And so ultimately, providing better user interfaces around this encryption management enables you to manage your wealth right now, but will in time allow you to manage your data too. So this is the Lightning node interface. Very simple way to run a Bitcoin Lightning node. Other nodes, other node types, and other applications will build on top of this. And it's growing lightning fast, so it's moving really fast. This is January 2018. In terms of what Lightning Network looked like, this is December 2018, just 1 year later. This is the interface of what it looked like to run a node, Lightning node, and then this is, again, the interface that we run. So again, to review, we have these 4 waves of computing. We think that this big wave around the 4th wave is going to enable, we're just on the edge of starting to see the new types of applications that will emerge here. Again, beyond a price hype, it's not just a financial revolution. It's not just financial apps that are going to be built. There are going to be a lot of other types of applications. Microsoft announced their Ion product, which is a decentralized identity product. You're getting some big players starting to announce some things in this world. And again, kind of the 4th wave of computing. This is a summary here. A lot of business models are going to break. So if you're investors, start looking around. There's going to be a lot of opportunities here. If you're building, we'd love to talk to you, support you using the nodes or anything else. We will have an SDK around this. So if you want to learn more, again, get a node and get Keymaster. We do have free tiers. We also have paid tiers. Nodes and key management come in at every level. But if you're managing over $1 million, then we have the kind of highest tier there. But yeah, thank you. So you can email me, jeremy@team.casa, or go to keys.casa to learn more. And I will be around after this if anybody has questions.
Thank you, Jeremy. That was great. And I would love to introduce our final speaker in this session, Szymon. Please come in. He'll talk about RAM.
Thank you. How do I? There we go.
Another check. Okay, now it works. Can you hear me well? Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about on-ramps, because this panel is all about adoption. So what does adoption mean? So first of all, adoption really means that we've got apps that we can really use, that are usable and useful. And we've heard a lot about a lot of apps. I can see that here we've got people from Centrifuge, we've got people from Trustless Bank, we've got people from Casa, we've got people from Argent, and all of these guys are making real substantial progress in making apps that are usable and useful. But actually, each and every of those apps, and every app or dApp that I know really requires you to get onboarded first to the space, and then after that you can really use and like reap all the benefits of those decentralized dApps. So this is why I'll talk about on-ramping. Let's define on-ramping first. On-ramping is any way you get your crypto. And most importantly, this is the most important thing when you just start interacting with this system, because after you get onboarded, as probably most of you, this stops to be a problem. But for a real adoption to happen, like for the next big wave of adoption, I believe that we need to have good on-ramps. And this is why I believe in that. So first of all, 100% of my friends on Twitter are like, the next wave of adoption will be different. It will be substantially different from what we've seen in 2017, 2013, and then earlier with speculative adoption of Bitcoin. Why? So they claim that, first of all, finally we have something really, really useful to many people. Prior to dApps and Ethereum and programmable blockchains, Bitcoin was really like a toy for geeks, and maybe mostly useful to people who were in underdeveloped, like living in countries with underdeveloped financial systems. But to really nudge people in developed countries to use those systems, it needs to be much beyond that. And we can see that with Argent, with Centrifuge, with all the other projects that will get showcased here. Second of all, there's a different target market. So till very recently, all of the offerings in this space, on this market, were targeted to people who were already familiar in some way with Bitcoin and crypto. And these were mostly like white dudes in their teens to 30s, because these guys are, were naturally curious about this stuff. But I do think that we need like systems that can extend the benefits of those great dApp developments to other people. And to really do that, we need to have better onboarding systems. And first, we really strive to build systems that are easy to use. And we've seen that with Argent, with this brilliant demo by Itamar. We've seen that with Casa, which really makes it very, very easy to set up a Lightning node. But I do think that for everything to click together and create like environment that is ready for the next wave of adoption, we need enablers. And just have a look at e-commerce. E-commerce had a pretty similar history to how Web3 or decentralized ecosystem gets developed. It really needed those enablers. What were those enablers? Well, you needed like the physical stuff to get delivered to you. You needed the access to the internet to really go to Amazon and like click this order button. And finally, you needed this credit card infrastructure to pay for stuff. So let's talk about what will be the crucial enablers for the next wave of adoption of crypto. So first, I believe that the most fundamental development that we've got is stablecoins. And I cannot stress this enough. Good stablecoins are really needed to create anything useful, because if you do not want to participate in a casino and just simply use the app just as you use Revolut, so you can use Argent, or if you want to just create a system for invoicing and supply chain, like with Centrifuge, you need a stable means of payment. And we've got that. We've got MakerDAO, which is doing a great, fabulous job creating those decentralized, unstoppable stablecoins called DAI. So next, we need better wallets, better interfaces, if you will. And thanks to developments by Gnosis team and widely adopted by other teams like Argent, we now have really good interfaces. And if you pair that with meta transactions and obfuscated gas payments, this really makes for a really good experience. And with social recovery or guardians, you can have an interface that is actually usable, and you can give it to your little brother or maybe to your dad, and you can be reasonably sure that they will handle that. But the first element is, I'd say, still missing. So we still miss better on-ramps. And this is for a couple of reasons. So right now, we are in a world where on-ramps are targeted towards the previous wave of adoption, the speculative wave of adoption. With the speculative wave of adoption in 2013 and 2017, the exchange, the place where you went to buy your coins, was the product. It was the casino. You went there to get this dopamine rush and get this ticket to lottery and hope to get 100x, 1000x return. And those products are still built in a way that assumes that these are the product themselves, where actually the best on-ramp should be implemented where you need it, just where you need it. It should be implemented into Argent, it should be implemented into Casa, it should be implemented into Centrifuge's interface. So when you actually need this product that is based on decentralized infrastructure, and when you actually need those coins to operate and to perform this action that you really want to perform, this should be a place where you get your coins. So right now we are, every dApp developer faces this real problem where they need to since they newly, they won this customer. Customer came to them and said, okay, this is valuable, I want to use it. But after second or third step, they have to go somewhere else, like to Coinbase or Kraken to get their coins. And this is really terrible for UX. If you're a developer, the last thing to do, or product manager, the last thing to do is to get somebody who you just won and send him or her somewhere else for him to complete some completely different action. So for good UX, for onboarding to your dApp, you really need a crypto on-ramp which is embeddable. And there are some embeddable crypto on-ramps, but not too many, and they are not widely used. We just spoke with Itamar, and he said that there are not too many really good on-ramps, and we really need to push forward to create something better. Secondly, we need something that is reasonably priced. It just so happens that all the easy-to-use on-ramps are based on credit cards, because this is something that we are used to, and this is convenient and easy to really embed into your product. But the downside of it is the cost. So if somebody wants to buy 100 USD worth of DAI, he expects to get 100 DAI for his $100 or equivalent for pounds or whatever. But actually what he gets with all the on-ramps that are based on credit cards is something significantly lower. So you could expect to get fees as high as 20%, and normal fee is north of 5%. If you want to create a product that really powers supply chain, or is your replacement, decentralized replacement to Revolut, you cannot do that. So we need something that is more reasonably priced. And third thing, I think this is, to many it seems like a vitamin and not a painkiller, but I think that this is really crucial. You want something that is non-custodial, because we've seen all those hacks. We've seen all this money getting lost in hacks of centralized exchanges. And nearly everyone in this space is really terrified about the next hack. What will happen if a cold storage would get hacked on Coinbase or maybe Kraken or even worse, Binance? It would be absolutely terrible. And it can happen. Even though something is on cold storage, it doesn't mean that you couldn't get socially engineered or even physically hack into the space to steal it. And this is like a huge black swan that is really, and it is really important for the entire community to embrace self-custody, to embrace this mantra of not your keys, not your coins. But unfortunately, most of the exchanges, even though you could potentially send the money there, exchange it, and withdraw it immediately, don't want you to do that for two reasons. So first reason, and this is the official reason, is the reason for securing your crypto. So if you want to pay some crypto in, no problem, you can do that in just a few seconds. But if you want to withdraw your crypto from an exchange, you will probably face some problems. Then after that, you will need to get your phone and type in your second password, your second factor code, and maybe you will need to get some email or SMS. But like the hidden reason for that, apart from security, is some dark UX pattern reasons. And these are, this is the motivation for the crypto exchange to really make you leave your coins on their platforms, because this maximizes their chance for the crypto to get traded again and again and again, and they leave off your trading fees. So the less steps for you to do another trade, maybe after you get like some adrenaline rush or FOMO after you've seen some tweet on Twitter and you want to act immediately, even though you wouldn't do that if there would be like some time lock of 5 minutes for you to think again and not sell those coins. This is the business for crypto exchanges. So how could it work? How this ideal exchange that could support the next wave of adoption could work? So we at Ramp Network are working on such an on-ramp. Right now, we've just launched a proof of concept app. You can have a live demo with me personally just after this panel, because we'll have like closed Q&A session. So there will be some volunteer down there who will get everyone who will want to ask about the system, and then we can go there and I can do a live demo. But now I want to just tell you how we want to operate. So first of all, we want to be non-custodial and non-centralized. So we'll operate with a crowdsourced liquidity, peer-to-peer. So every time you will trade with a peer, be it like a small market maker who you would typically meet on local Ethereum or local Bitcoins, or just your peer who just wants to sell some crypto and you coincidentally just need it. Secondly, we'll work with bank APIs, and this is the biggest difference that differentiate Ramp Network from platforms like local Ethereum or local Bitcoins, because we operate oracles that can oracleize banking data and confirm that you've paid the money for your crypto directly to the other party. So for you, the flow would be very familiar. It would be very similar to how Coinbase widget have worked until they closed that off because they want to become a bank, frankly. And only on the very end, you would make a payment to your peer instead to a centralized institution. So this way, we won't touch your money because your crypto would be stored on a smart contract escrow and would be waiting for a trigger from the oracle sending the confirmation of the payment to you. And so third of all, thanks to the previous two, the nice property about this system is that it will be inherently harder to hack and much more secure, and this black swan danger of the exchange getting hacked would be nearly eliminated. The only money at risk would be money that would be under this smart contract, inside this smart contract escrow for the time being when the transaction gets settled actually between two people. So in the UK, such a transaction would settle under 10 minutes, so this risk would be really, really small. And finally, our system will be embeddable, so this would be a very, very simple iframe that you could integrate into your app, into your system. We already spoke about that with Argent, with Centrifuge. If you are also interested in getting it implemented, speak with me. You can catch me on Szymon at ramp.network, or just use contact button on ramp.network website. And you're also very welcome to participate in the closed Q&A session taking place now. Thanks.